I must think. Quiet while I think. I must think. Let me see. We must throw off the yoke of monarchy and make our country safe for hypocrisy. Hey, 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 hey. Ich spreche im ganz die Verzeihung gehabt haben. Ich doch mal Schicht in Publik gehabt haben. Ja? Ja. 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 Get him. Put him down.
As Minister of Propaganda, I want to report that the people...
I am not interested in the people.
Hail!
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 Hail, you say?
Oh, hail, I see.
I tried fear, pitching, Krankheit and Public gehabt haben, ja? Take away the medals.
They're not yours. I bought them in a hop shop.
Give me my personality. Neue Unterwäsche gehabt haben, ja?
Yeah, man. I'm from the South. Neue Unterwäsche. That's what I'm suffering from.
Yeah,
man.
I vanquished them. I am the winner. The world belongs to me. Give it to me.
No, it's mine.
That's right. That's from You Nazi Spy, 1940, and I'll Never Heil Again, 1941. Two Stooges classics from their film division at Columbia from their shorts. But the reason they're important is Mo Howard, obviously all the Stooges are Jewish, which was not the case with The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin. But these guys had never seen Hitler other than German newsreel footage in 1940 and 1941. Nothing. And this is what Mo Howard was able to extract from just that Hitler gibberish that we used to see, years later. But in 1940, 1941, there was very little of it available for the Stooges to work with.
Is it too late to cancel the Stooges? I found that very triggering.
The only reason I thought it was relevant was because of the blowback from Biden's speech last night, going full Hitler, with the red Leni Riefenstahl drapes, the two soldiers, there's so many memes now, right? Robert?
He's trending. He's
trending heavily as the Fuhrer.
Hitler 2.0.
The trending hashtag that I saw was potato Hitler, but not the potato. It was
pedo Hitler. Pedo Hitler.
I'm trying not to say it.
Yeah, thanks. By the way, that is a rather handsome shirt there, Robert.
Oh,
it is
very nice.
Only, I realized that it's tough. You might want to change the color of the letter. You can't read the America's Untold Stories part.
That's part of the glamour of it, Robert. It's
yes, of course. Yeah, that's what it's so untold. You can't read it.
You can't even read it. That's people come up to me on the street and just put their face right up to my chest. So
I got the Viva Barnes
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Now, I don't want to read too much into the backdrop, but for people who are joking that it resembled the Third Reich type level stuff, it had 3 levels of blood red streams of pillars behind it.
You know what it looked exactly like? It was like Zelensky's speech looked like 1984, and they clearly had the 2 minutes of of hate thematically going with Biden. It looked just like the V for Vendetta guy.
I was going to say that. Yeah, it looked like V for Vendetta. Yeah. They probably brought in the same set designers.
Exactly.
They probably don't even realize it. That's why I said they were probably watching the Stooges clips all week to get to where they were today. I mean, in that clip, Curly is playing not Field Marshal Goering. He's playing Field Marshal Herring, David. That's the name of his character in those 2 films.
We're already limited, by the way.
Oh, well.
I think it was the Hitler. Hold on, Eric. While we're at it, I'm going to send you this in the chat. It's the Google search. Pull up I can't.
Well, I'm going to, before we get too far into it, because folks have Boomer Time with Mark and Eric. We have a sponsor.
Oh, we have a sponsor. Yeah.
And the fun part of this sponsor is Mark. Our sponsor is ExpressVPN.
What the hell is that?
I guess we start with Boomer Time.
VPN? What is that?
Okay, VPN. VPN is something that helps you navigate the internet safely.
Me personally, or people just like
those who choose to use it, those who are sophisticated and worried about people tracking them. You realize that when your computer's connected to the internet,
the government and other people.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm with you so far. I'm with you.
All right.
Go on.
Just like your house has an address, so mail can get delivered, your computer has an address when it connects.
Right.
The problem is that with your address, you are giving a ton of information, including your search history. So have you ever noticed that when you're searching around and then you go from site to site, you'll look at the top of the screen and say, wait a minute. Oh, I was just searching for that.
Right. Yeah. I've noticed
how the hell do we know that? Okay.
Yeah.
That is being done with your IP address.
Oh,
There's
come on.
I bet the most my odds for the most controversial search history, I'm going to put on Groubert. I'm going to say that.
I do, dude. I've been on in contact with David's native country all week about this Gavin McInnes thing. It's really fascinating how they're trying to help me find this guy now. This is a separate side story. I know you were telling me about this guy, David, who
Owen Benjamin, who alluded to
maybe his arch nemesis or something, but I just took it very straight. I went right to the Canadian embassy, which we could discuss in a little while after the commercial. But go on, Eric.
Yes.
Well, Eric, let me help you sell this a little bit. Apparently now there's some video of Trudeau that is being blocked in Canada, whereas if you had a VPN, you'd be able to watch that.
That's right.
Well, and hypothetically speaking, some people may use it to place bets in various markets where maybe their current IP address might not allow them to.
Whoa.
Guess what,
Sometimes
Robert?
VPNs.
Whoa.
Good news for that. You have 94 countries as an option to where your traffic can go out. Like, have you ever tried to watch something on the internet, Mark, and they said, sorry, you're not from this country, or it's not available in your region?
Yeah.
Mine just says death to the Jews, but I guess it's the same thing, right?
Okay.
Am I being hacked when that happens, or what's the deal? I don't understand. I'm just a boomer living in your world.
Oh, my God. Between you now and Rakeda earlier, it's like this is going to be an interesting relationship with the sponsor. But no, with ExpressVPN, what is happening is your IP address is being masked. You're getting sent to their server. They are sending it through an encrypted tunnel and out the other end. So when you go to the internet, it's like a mail forwarder, and whomever is on the other side
out the other end, David, right?
It's like the movie. It's like the movie Sneakers. You're bouncing it around. You're bouncing around the call where they're trying to track and trade. They're trying to avoid the call being tracked. It's actually like a good asset plan.
Okay.
Good asset plan. You have multiple entities in multiple jurisdictions. So, entity in Wyoming owns something in Alaska, that owns something in Delaware, that owns something in Nevada, that owns something in the Cook Islands, that owns something in the Seychelles, that owns something in Caraco. And, good luck trying to track the original owner of the process.
Exactly.
ExpressVPN does the same thing. It both disguises where people can track you and allows you to access things that censors are trying to block you from.
Wow.
Another advantage too, Robert, which you'll appreciate, is they scrap their logs. So it's encrypted tunnel, and they also burn the logs down. So they can't.
Signal. Signal doesn't even have the means of. There's no centralized storage. Like that's how they normally snag people, is centralized storage. Don't illicit efforts. I'm only talking about illicit efforts to snag people. By the way, they don't keep centralized storage, so they can't get a subpoena for their centralized records about your activities because they don't keep them.
Well, there you go. And
why didn't I hear about this earlier? I would have signed up for this years ago.
Well, guess what? You can get it for 3 months free.
What?
There's a link in the description.
There's
a link in the chat. So it's no money at all to give it a try.
Okay, I think I'll try it then. I'm pretty good. I like this.
I have dirty jokes, but I should probably not. I won't make them. Discretion is a better part of value.
It's better than Viva's new sponsors. He doesn't always smoke cigarettes. But when he does, he's a Marlboro man.
Oh, wow.
That's not a sponsor. Just wait until they outlaw VPNs. Canada, in order to ensure that nobody has access to wrongthink, will outlaw VPNs.
China, by the way, everybody who lives in China who's an expat has a VPN. That's how they can get to Facebook or anything else. Yes. So it's very much used.
Asking us a question here. Does it slow down the internet?
They use them in Russia all the time.
It can slow down the packet some. They have very high-level servers. But yes, it can, because you're adding a layer of abstraction. Okay. So anytime you're doing something, you're going to have a case of safety versus
I'm
performance.
only asking this
So-
for a friend who uses internet porn a lot.
Okay, well, good. Definitely let them know. They're illicit searches.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know. Good to know.
Anyway,
How long have you been in the IT space, Eric?
25 years.
Whoa.
Something like that.
So you're one of the originals.
Yeah, I mean, I was on. God, I was AOL to way back.
You
when it
remember
was
AOL?
only-
Kids these days don't even know what AOL means.
And CompuServe. So, like when I'm talking about
CompuServe.
Section 230, I remember CompuServe and Prodigy and what was going on with
Well,
that.
you know who that's connected to, right?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. I was talking to him and I realized, oh my God, you're the guy that caused Section 230. It's you, and it was for those people. I mean, don't. It's because he was.
Oh, you've been on his show, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah. I told him if he'd had me as a lawyer, he'd have done less time.
How much time did he do? He did like 5 years or something? 3
Yeah,
years?
it was pretty light time. The way I put it was, all of my clients are innocent. Everybody explains that. That's why I win. It's just because I have all my clients are innocent. And I was like, if you were my client, you'd be innocent too.
Right,
So
just
that point.
by magic.
Yeah, exactly.
He seems to have fallen on his feet. Okay, though.
Oh, that's an understatement.
So, I mean, maybe it's worth it. He did it, flipped on some people.
I don't think he really regrets it. I think he regrets aspects of what happened with his family, but he doesn't regret the necessarily having the fun. Put it that way.
He has the street cred too.
Yeah.
How much
He's
time did he
milking.
do in jail, Robert?
I think it was less than 5 years, and that was back when the feds. It wasn't quite like the movie portrayed it. It wasn't, but there were places even through the 90s that definitely in the 80s that were much federal prisons that were low end white collar facilities that had tennis and stuff like that.
Fishkill in New York is one, even to this day. Fishkill.
And now they've mostly gutted those because there was some news coverage about it, and so they basically took that out. And the federal time is still generally a lot softer and easier than state time. Big difference, unless you're at like Supermax or one of those places.
I have yet to see Wolf of Wall Street.
What?
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Great film. It's about depravity. It's just one big long film about depravity.
Yeah, it's Giant Ass Party.
The record for the most F words in any movie.
But that whole "I'm not going anywhere" speech has become mimetic in infamy.
Yeah, the Dodgers even use the drop the mic when he hits himself in the head with the microphone. The Dodgers use that every time they get a base hit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every time. Nobody knows what it is except really close fans of the Dodgers and the movie, and they hit themselves in the head like that with the imaginary microphone as soon as they get to first base.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, talking about mixing cultural.
You're mixing cultural metaphors.
Eric, is there a text that anyone has to text in order to get the code for the 3 months free of VPN?
You just click the link. There's a link in the description. And there will be a pinned comment later. I can't do a pinned comment before the video is done. And there's a pinned chat in the top. So
now
anyone can do it.
Go to that picture of V for Vendetta, Eric. It should be if you go to the search results.
Okay.
People, I put together a bit of a clip, but I didn't even pick the right one. The picture. How do I save this?
You can always share your screen too, which is safe.
I don't know how to do
Dude, the
things.
things that he's got on his screen, he's got like all kinds of fish up there.
Does VPN delete your?
We were on with Jackson Hinckley on Wednesday, and Viva was talking. I mean, Hinckley was talking about the chick who filmed herself in what's the phrase? I want to say in
flagrante delicto.
Yes, but he just said her back, she her getting her back blown out. And Viva was like, she had a back problem?
I don't understand language anymore.
What's fun is getting David on Fridays with us. You can put David and Ricada on the same stream. Funny things can happen. When he's like, Futanari or whatever it is. And then he looks it up.
There goes my clean browsing history. Look at this picture. This is the picture from V for Vendetta.
Yeah, see? I mean, it's. I think somebody looked at the script for this and thought, "Hey, this would be a great stage for Biden."
I'm telling you, they hired the same set designer. They've gone completely Hollywood. They've merged. Remember, I told you this about a year ago, Robert. They were going to merge on the footage with January 6th. They were going to bring in the editors from Hollywood. They were going to transfer some of the footage to Hollywood directors.
All
of that's happened with the January 6th footage, and probably they're doing it with.
Oh my God, that is.
Look at that! Holy cow!
When I first saw someone show this to me in the chat, the bourbon last night, and I was like, "Oh, that's got." I was like, "That's a great meme." I was like, "That." I had no idea it was the actual shot.
I didn't know that.
How about the guy with the bullhorn out in the street?
I saw that.
He's chanting "Fuck Joe Biden, let's go Brandon" during the whole speech.
Oh, really?
And then he referenced him. It throws him off his game. He had to reference the guy saying he's totally has no manners. He's allowed to do this. This is their people. It obviously got to his dementia brain that the guy was chanting "Fuck Joe Biden" 10 feet away.
Well, you have the White House today using the White House Twitter to attack 3 members of Congress. And in not just like political terms, but suggesting that these are also enemies of the state.
Wow.
Saying these people have called for defunding the FBI. Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know whether Massey or which one was the third one, but it was very open, very overt. Now, of course, Tim Pool will have like 6 videos on how civil war is right about to happen. God bless Tim, but I don't think
videos are okay. I can never make it more than about 8 minutes because he starts just rambling, or is it me? Because it's like he's on point for a little bit, and then he just keeps talking. I don't.
It's a meandering thing, and it covers a bunch of issues, and then it comes full circle back at the end. And I watch it at 1.5, so you get to the end faster. But Tim is talking Civil War, and it's not clear. Yeah, but it's not clear that he's wrong in the sense that there is something of a civil war being fought now. It might
be a culture war, But the arms aren't probably.
That's been fought now since
standoff down in Texas
Tea
with
Party
the child drag show the other day came pretty close to shooting, Robert.
That's I don't know. It's they have armed protection at a drag show, but not at a school.
It's the first time I think that Antifa's gone outside of their politically protected areas.
Not only that, I mean, armed with AR-15, standing there with baklava masks on. That's another level we haven't seen yet. That was, to me, that was 1979, commies versus the Klan, Greensboro, North Carolina, which obviously David doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, but one of the great shootouts of all time. 4 dead commies, 10 wounded, Klan, I think, merging with the American Nazi Party, all of them bringing weapons, and then the shootout, which was filmed by local news.
It's what Antifa was founded on was the brown shirts, black shirts fighting in the streets of Germany, particularly in the late 1920s, and they know that they need someone that they can define. That's why they loved Charlottesville. They needed a movement. That's why they loved the Proud Boys. That's why the problem is they effectively politically neutered all of those organizations. One, those organizations weren't what was being portrayed as. There were some infiltrators and some instigators amongst them, and there were some idiots, some doomers, and people, who wanted to do something dumb amongst them. But that was not the predominant motive. That was their first flaw. The second is to what degree that existed, they've taken out over the last several years. So now they don't exist. So they'll have to start escalating their provocations. They'll have to start escalating going into conservative places.
Well, I think there's going to be provocateurs who are going to infiltrate even Antifa, Robert.
I'm concerned.
Well, Antifa has a lot of feds.
Right, but I'm saying it only takes a match to this thing is incendiary by its design.
Well, what about carrying the weapons being fully masked in gear like that? I mean, obviously, I do question it. I'm all for everybody carrying their guns, but to be completely covered like that, like a soldier or something, is that legal? It seems a little.
In most states, yes. It's only illegal where they after the anti-Klan laws passed anti-masking laws in a few states, but there's only a few states, to my knowledge, that have those.
Well, we were one of them. We had to go to Sacramento with Newsom to reverse it here because of COVID. We had to reverse the anti-mask laws. There used to be signs in the door right here on the 7-Eleven, no hoodies or masks allowed. And when COVID started, they had to get rid of that.
Out of Quebec, we had, I forget if it's Bill C-16 or C-21. There was one that
C-16's language, so it's probably C-20.
Because they have overlapping provincial versus federal, but it was banning religious garb in federal provincial employees. So they were banning the
hijab,
the burqa, the face garb, and then they mandate the face mask. It's I was just thinking the other day, the absolute, like the epitome of the insanity of COVID was when they were mandating face masks and then they made an exemption for Black Americans because of the stigma that came with covering your face. Do you remember this?
I don't
Robert,
remember.
Robert, what state was that in? I want to say Wyoming.
I don't know.
Oh, they exempted Black Americans from wearing the face mask.
I know there was discussion of it, but I don't know if it ever reached.
Hold on. I think they reversed after it became public. Let me Google this.
I think it was the famous decision of Mask versus the Board of Education, 1954. Sorry.
Here we go.
I was just passing through.
An Oregon county drops its mask exemption for people of color after racist response.
That's right. I remember that.
Oh my God! Here, I'll send a link.
Newsom's about to sign a bill here revoking medical licenses for doctors if they violate linguistic protocol of COVID lingo. They're subject to lose their medical licenses here.
It's already subject to a suit. They've already brought a suit, but about them attempting to just administer that before the law was passed.
Right.
And it just showed. Now, the good news out of California is their attempts to allow forced vaccinations without consent of children failed. One of the very few things that has failed in California.
What's this now?
Yeah, an Oregon county drops its mask exemption for people of color.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I was looking at Rings of Power. I was wondering. Okay.
I was looking at that.
I hear that's terrible, by the way. I hear they completely gutted Tolkien.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Apparently, they had to like find Asian elves and everything else too, and it's like have to have full representation because in mythical times, we definitely
wasn't the Haitian lesbian complaining about somebody's joke, DeSantis tossing the elf across the Potomac, that was an act of violence. She said from the press secretary pulpit the other day.
If you watch Wolf of Wall Street, Viva, you can see actual dwarf tossing contest.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, I may have to watch. It's too long. It's a 3-hour movie. If I get 3 hours of
what happened to your JFK movie? I thought you were watching that.
I didn't even get to that.
You're a pussy. Well, you couldn't make it through that. Look at you.
It's very bad. I'm very bad.
What do you have, attention deficit disorder?
I've been told I do. But hold on, before we get distracted from everyone watched the speech last night? Mark?
I didn't watch the speech.
No,
I just saw
I can't watch them anymore.
Yeah, I saw the highlights though. I saw some of the great moments of the speech.
The double-fisted Hitler look.
Right, the double-fisted Hitler, or it kind of looks like some cartoon character that Viva kind of used to like. Remember, it was like Beavis and Butthead, right?
Oh, yeah.
I knew you were going to do that. I could have bet money on that.
Beavis doing cornholio, like this cornholio for my bunghole.
There's a meme in there that someone missed. One more question, Mark.
Yeah.
So, do you have any news on Gavin McInnes?
Okay, so apparently I contacted the media department of the Canadian Embassy, who are legitimately gotten back to me twice now and are looking for him. So, in fact, I got an email this morning from the Canadian Embassy. So it's in play. They couldn't divulge personal information, and then they transferred me to the World Media Services of Canada for media. And they do track citizens of Canada. So they promised me, I'm waiting. They said by Wednesday, they will have an answer as to where he is. I don't know anything about a prank, anything like that, unless the guy has done this 20 times. He seems like a normally married guy living in Larchmont with a wife with a business. I don't know who does these pranks like this. I have issues
with Owen Benjamin saying that too, because I'm thinking, okay, Gavin McInnes, he's going to do a prank on everybody, and
does he have a history of doing this, Eric?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. Anyway, his company says that he's been arrested. There's something going on.
That's all I could go on.
But Owen Benjamin, out of everybody in the whole planet, Owen Benjamin texts him and he says, "Oh, it's Owen. I better tell him." Does that make sense to anyone? I mean,
but people bought into it. Whoever this guy Owen Benjamin is, I understand he's not a friend of the Jews, though, David.
He used to be. He was an actor. He played some roles, I think. I mean, he was a comedian. Oh yeah, he was a Hollywood guy.
All of these guys seem to be wannabe comedians. I did a little dive on these guys last week. They all are trying to outrage each other in this weird alternative comedy space. If that makes any sense to anybody.
Well, and he was I think he was in a couple of like movies or TV shows. He was Hollywood represented. I mean, he was, small character, but a character out there.
Right.
And about, was it 4 years ago, 3 years ago? I met him before he went nuts in 2017, I think, in New York at one of Cernovich's parties.
No, he was dating somebody famous. I forgot.
Yes, I thought so. I thought he did. I mean, now he's married.
What's his beef with McInnes?
Christina Ricci. He was dating Christina
Ricci. Let me
Ricci.
tell you something. I love Christina Ricci. Now the guy's right. I am a mad dog for Christina Ricci. Every time I see her, she used to live over here.
He's like, and Owen's like 6'7", so there's like pictures of them, and she's just over his waist.
She is tiny.
He's walking around, but
so I think got married, moved to the state of Washington, has kids, moved out in the countryside, and he just went nuts. He went slowly, steadily nuts. He went down one rabbit hole after the next. Until he believed every
Sullivan and Son. He was
Alex Jones was part of it.
What was he in?
Sullivan and Son. He worked with Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer, that's a death knell right there.
Jack and Jill.
Of comedy, that'll kill anybody.
His stand-up bit before things took a turn. He had some funny comedy.
Decent. Yeah, so I'm decent. I mean, not off the charts, but decent.
What is his beef with McInnes? Are they enemies?
Oh, he just went nuts on everything. So,
Alex
Jones was part of the conspiracy
he hates
against
Rogan.
him.
He hates Rogan too.
I think the Earth is flat now.
This sounds like a bitter bull who didn't make it large, and it sounds like he's lashing out at everybody.
But he's especially obsessed with the Jews. The Jews,
right?
Well, I was.
Hold on, here's one of them right here. Go ahead, David.
Well, I was not watching him like as in following, but I was watching that transition, and he got obsessed with the idea, of Jews. YouTube controlling speech, and then he would deliberately say things which, run by Wojcicki or not, things that would probably get you in trouble in terms of it being a little too specific, a little bit too whatever, right. And then it would reaffirm what he already believed, and I saw it happen in real time. But the conspiracy theories, also it's to each their own.
Good example. When in the clip where he's talking about Gavin McInnes contacting him, he asked Gavin, "Why did you do that?" And he said that Gavin told him in his Talmudic wisdom. Interesting choice of words. Why Talmudic wisdom? Wouldn't it just be other wisdom? Or
I think it would be Scottish wisdom. Isn't he Scottish?
I don't know, but it's odd choice. Then that's what I'm talking about.
Talmudic wisdom.
I mean, to give you an idea who Gavin was, Gavin almost created the hipster brand himself.
Right. That's why I like this guy. I mean, I come from magazines. Vice. That's where Gavin comes from Vice. Before his partner.
He's a Canadian, Viva.
What's that?
Oh, no, Gavin, founder of the Proud Boys, designated
right. No, but I'm saying before that, Vice magazine, much more important culturally.
Mm-hmm.
With his partner, who then goes deep state, making Vice News a CIA traveling roadshow. McInnes got out before his partner sold out the entire company to be able to go to North Korea and with have a basketball game with Vice News.
Did you see that? In fact, that's partially referenced in the new documentary on John McAfee. So the new documentary on John McAfee that's out on Netflix that has a certain person. You can only see him in reflections of McAfee's
but
glasses.
I'm there.
Yes, you can see. Eric Culley makes his cinematic debut off of the reflection of the interview that Eric did with him.
That's
you can see a little McAfee. You can see a little Hunley in McAfee's glasses.
Wow.
But it's originally a Vice crew that goes down
there. Yes, Vice crew, as I said in the CIA episode, replaced National Geographic as the CIA international cover, because National Geographic used to infiltrate, go to Nigeria, go to these places, take photos of big-breasted African women nursing their children, and under the guise of the magazine and the crew. Vice replaced them. Vice was the one that
teenage boys in Christian schools, National Geographic was the favorite publication in the library.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's always found fun.
How come these pages are stuck together? I don't know, Your Honor. I mean,
okay.
Well, the amazing in the documentary, Vice runs a cover story initially, but they out McAfee's location.
Yeah, because they upload the pictures directly. They were supposed to screenshot the pictures. And they didn't use a VPN, but no, there was a geotag on the photo because it was taken with their phone or whatever else. They upload it and everybody goes, "Oh, there he is." But
the journalist said they explicitly asked Vice not to remove that, and they don't. And then they spend all this time down there with the craziness of the early of McAfee escaping Belize, McAfee getting arrested in Guatemala, McAfee escaping Guatemala, and then Vice pulls the story. They won't run the story. And this is after McAfee is now making accusations against government corruption in Belize, and it's systematic and it's institutional, and people have been bought off in Guatemala and all those other. Suddenly Vice is, I mean, it's an extraordinary story that Vice has from a journalist.
The Vice story I've been tracking for years. This goes back to Obama when he sent Jay-Z to Cuba and he sent Dennis Rodman to North Korea. And I went, these guys aren't really spies or ambassadors, and they're embedded with the Vice crew. And of course, the North Korean intelligence unit outed them and kicked them out eventually. Dennis Rodman became Obama's sidekick, as did Jay-Z going to Cuba to do the same thing with baseball in Cuba. And I thought, well, this is kind of a new twist on an old story.
I mean, Jay-Z got the royal treatment in Cuba.
I'm sure he did.
I talked to people down there after he was there, and it was all It was like Jay-Z for a week. And
same thing with Dennis Rodman in North Korea.
Yeah, except I'd rather get the royal treatment in Cuba than North Korea. I just think there's probably going to get a little more out of it.
You know, the premier of North Korea. Remember, they got what do they call them? The something girls. What do they call them? The princesses or something.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
They like it goes back to the former like he has like 100 of them.
100.
I mean.
I got to tell you, though, I spent time in Gitmo taking care of Cuban refugees, and I'm sorry, the women.
Oh, in Cuba?
Some
of the prettiest women in the world.
Oh, yeah. They get Brazil run for their money.
The prettiest woman I've ever seen in the world
Who weeps for Otto Warm
now
Beer,
they do.
David? Who weeps for Otto Warm Beer? That's all I could say is a Jewish college student who goes to North Korea, steals a movie poster off the wall of the hotel, has his brain drilled out by the North Koreans, and is shipped back to his parents. However, part of the stunt that I realized in this fraternity, which the fraternity itself that Otto Warm Beer was in, I believe was Georgetown, was a funnel to the CIA. And part of the ritual was to steal something in a totalitarian regime and bring it back to the United States. That's why he stole the movie poster off the wall. But everybody forgets Otto Warm Beer.
No, I remember him. I just never knew if the accusation of theft was legitimate.
It was legitimate. I mean, because it was done for a ritualistic reason, as a token for the future CIA operatives.
I never knew that part. Not that doesn't attenuate anything. I just
not at all.
That's bizarre. But Mark, I have a friend, unless my friend's lying to me, who said he took one of those day tours to North Korea, and then he texted me when he was there and said, "Help me! I've been taken," and I thought he was serious. And he says, "I was joking," and I thought he was joking about having gone to North Korea, but he went for one of those day tours.
You know, right. Jordan Harbinger does them. He's got like there's a way to do it. I think it's similar to the tours that they did to Cuba, like going through Canada and.
Michael Malice did one before he wrote it. He used it for a part of his book, Dear Reader.
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
But that's a vacation I'm skipping. You know, it's like people keep asking me to go to different places, like in the Middle East, and I'm like, why? No.
Why?
Am I wrong in thinking I think I would feel safer going to Cuba than North Korea? Is that?
Look, you can't even go to Israel.
Yes.
My family was getting on El Al to go to Israel, and they said to my brother, "Do you have anything to declare?" And he said, "Yeah, my mom's got a bomb in her pocketbook." So the next thing you know, my entire family's in a special room getting anally strip searched by Mossad. So you got to watch what you say. If you come from a family of big mouths like I do, you could end up in an Israeli prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a professor that was over there for a couple of years, kept inviting me, and I was just like, I just keep seeing stuff getting blown up and whatnot. It's like I'm intrigued by Israel, but maybe when it's a little safer.
Well, I'll tell you something else. My parents went on a vacation, their honeymoon, and they were flying. My father worked for the airline, so it's probably the reason my mother married him. But they were flying down to Jamaica in 1961 after they got married on a KLM Dutch airline, and they were forced down by Cuban MiGs into Havana Airport, and the entire plane was forced off the plane into the terminal. And the only one who wouldn't get off the plane was my fat mother, who said, "I'm under the protection of Queen Juliana of the Netherlands." And my father's going to get off the plane. And she wouldn't get off the plane. And it was a Cuban-Mexican standoff where they finally allowed everyone to get back on the plane and fly on to Jamaica for their honeymoon. True story.
That's great. That is great.
So you come by the big mouth naturally.
I remember the first time I landed in Havana, I was like, this could be the last place I ever visit. You get that moment because you realize you're in a whole different government world.
Coming out of there, yeah.
Well, when I was in Gitmo, I was white knuckled because the DMZ. We had to drive by the DMZ all the time to take food to the dump, if you will. And one time I was driving and we were feeding them grits. If you want to have a riot in Cuba, try to feed them grits. They don't like grits.
I had grits for breakfast, by the way. That's odd you said that.
Oh, well, you know what? They despise grits.
Dude, I haven't had grits in years. I just had grits this morning.
I don't know. Dude.
What are grits?
They're tiny little
corn.
Oh, you still haven't had grits yet, Viva? Oh, that's right. You didn't eat them at Walmart. Not Walmart. At
the Waffle House. I think someone the grits.
Somebody ordered them. Yeah, but I guess you didn't eat them.
That's the stuff with the gravy on it.
No, I put butter on it. Just butter. Yeah, you don't need gravy.
Or bacon, especially.
Yeah, some of them now have bacon in them.
It looks like porridge.
Yeah, looks like a porridge.
It's like cream of wheat.
It's a whole reference in My Cousin Vinny. Remember, it's how he unravels the witness.
Yeah, he goes, "What's a grit?"
He learns about grits coming down.
What's a grit? That was
New York.
Right. Fred, what's his name from the Munsters?
Yes.
Anyway, Cubans don't like them, so we had to take all of it to the dump. And one problem with grits is when they're fully heated and they spill on you, they stick to you like oil.
Only Al Green would know this because his girlfriend threw a bowl of hot grits in his face while he was naked, the soul singer Al Green. But go on, Eric.
Okay, cool.
That reminds me of the Richard Pryor joke, which I still love. You know, he lights a match. He goes, what's this? It's Richard Pryor running down the street.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. He did reference Al Green, too.
He told his own joke. This is because Richard Pryor lit himself on fire with too much cocaine.
Yeah, I remember that.
You don't know that story?
How the heck? No. How's it? Do I know the story of Richard Pryor setting himself on fire while doing cocaine?
You don't know that story?
I'm not even sure I knew Richard Pryor did cocaine.
He was freebasing it.
He did mountains of it.
Mountains.
Oh, yeah.
He was Zelensky level with his cocaine.
Hold on. I want to hear what happened with the grits with Hunley with the Cubans.
All right, either way, they spilled through the window on my arm. Is burning. I had a truck, and I was trying not to go off the road into the minefield, which would have really been a bad day.
There's a minefield too?
Is that to protect the?
Yes, I was on a DMC, so it's a very narrow road, and I'm in a big-ass truck with my arm burning, just white-knuckling so I don't go off the side and blow up.
You know, in 1961, Lenny Bruce famously said, "What are we still doing in Guantanamo Bay, man? Like, how are we on the end of an independent country with a naval base?" And he pointed this out.
99-year lease.
Yeah, it's a 99-year lease.
Decided not to actually wage war about. I think we still pay them money, don't we? But they haven't cashed the check, I think.
Wasn't there a lease with the Panama Canal that Jimmy Carter? Same thing,
ran
right?
out. Yep. Well, ran around Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong we gave back, remember?
Right.
Or Britain gave back. Yeah, so I think they all kind of came due
the same time, like 90
time
well,
frame.
Right around 2000.
The Panama Canal. I mean, the Panama Canal as disclosed in the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. The Panamanian president gets taken out, and that helps facilitate a lot of things that gets happen.
Let me ask you something. What did Noriega ever do to us to end up in Miami in a federal prison cell? What did this guy ever do to us?
He thought he was bigger than Poppy Bush.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So, I mean, he was the servant for forever, facilitator, enabler. I used to tell people, don't put your money in Panama. It's a pirate protected safe harbor by the elites that they can revoke at any given moment. And, you don't want your money in a place like that. But almost every drug dealer had tons of money there and lost a lot of money fast. That wasn't just a Noriega grab. They grabbed a bunch of cash out of Panamanian banks with that invasion. I had a lawyer.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I had a Panama lawyer years later in another case come up because my client was illegally extradited from Panama. And so as part of this whole, and everything crazy happened in that case. But so we get the Panama lawyer up there to testify. He is paranoid because, this was many years later. This was almost 15 years later, almost 2 decades later after the Panama invasion. And he was still paranoid of the U.S. So he comes and he's going to testify. And because he's like, you don't understand. He goes, and something goes sideways here. In Panama, they just hit you on the back of the head, stick in your trunk, you vanish. He goes, that's and his fear was entirely of the U.S. government. And he was thrilled because they misspelled his name during the introduction of his testimony.
Wow.
And he made clear to me at the break, don't correct that. Please keep that misspelling in the record because of how terrified he still was from what happened in Panama.
Back then, a misspelling of a name could hide you out for years. Right,
yes.
Robert?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In the old days, you could really disappear effectively.
Right.
Now, you still can. A certain client of mine was supposed to use a passport going into a country, only coming out of the country, not going into the country. It might have been an alternative passport. Unfortunately, he was too recognizable, and he only used it. He tried to use it going in rather than coming out. It got flagged. We were able to solve the problem. But one of the ways, like they're trying to change that now legally. Like one way you could actually legally do this is you get a second citizenship in another country, you get a passport issued, but you go in and you change your name legally only in that country. And then you get a passport legally issued in a different name than what you're known as in whatever your country you're from. By the way, the Russians and the Chinese do this all the time.
Wow.
They use Swiss-related
companies. Even in L.A., they rounded up a bunch of Chinese people here who had all gone to this. They all had the same driver's license. And one guy went to the DMV for 500 illegal Chinese people who were here, and they all had the same exact photo on the one driver's license that they bought on the black market in LA.
I'll never forget the South Asian, whether it's China, Taiwan, Vietnam, a lot of people from those places, it's I've disproportionately run into here. And you see it when you go to Hong Kong. Their sense of intellectual property just they don't even.
Oh no, they don't believe in that shit.
They don't at all. Like they're just sitting there. Like I had a client got in a little bit of trouble because married someone from Southeast Asia, and he was in a business that required immediate sub-electronic parts, right? But somebody wanted Samsung this version or whatever. And she's sitting there looking at it, and he's like, "Why are you doing it this way? Why not you just buy generic parts and stick the label Samsung on it, or stick the label whatever on it?"
Absolutely.
Of course, this was, massive RICO fraud is the reason why you probably shouldn't do that.
It's a cultural difference.
Yeah, culturally, she didn't even understand that. She's like, "No, this is just efficient. This is just productive. This is sensible. Why are you putting this big value on a name, on a label?"
That's because they're a collectivist society versus atomistic. Because atomistic is independent. You built it. You created it. It's yours. They don't think in that manner. And
also, they don't have the same. Well, I mean, they do more now, but the advertising brand, corporate value. Because like you walk through those Hong Kong vendors where you can get every knockoff DVD for like 99 cents or $1.99. They're just all over
all mine are up there, that's for sure. Well, you used to see that on the streets of New York. They would sit. There's a whole Seinfeld episode where they're filming, in the theater. We would see it all the time when they'd film anytime there's a premiere in a theater.
Well, it's like my brother got his first fake Rolex outside the Statue of Liberty. They're selling them, for $25 a pop.
Yeah. I actually got a good one on Canal Street in New York, and it had the actual moving parts. It was an actual kinetic watch, looked exactly like a Mont Blanc. Had the gems, but it only lasted an hour fully charged. But Eric, if you could you just pull up the definition of freebasing for those who may not have known? I put it in the private chat. I didn't know.
I was going to say why, because freebasing is crack before crack.
That's right.
Who the hell knows what freebase? I mean, conceptually,
three of us do.
I do.
Oh, that's the Oregon article. Now there's like a chemical thing about separating the cocaine.
My roommate was very good at that. He was really good at separating. Yeah.
Well, what is it? It's baking soda for crack and salt for freebase or something like that.
Okay, look, I guess I didn't get to that chapter of the anarchist cookbook once.
Now you can't even buy whipped cream in New York. That's how bad it's gotten.
That I've tried once, because at least
come on, you're kidding.
Freebasing cocaine. Here we go. Ready to get help? No, we're ready to learn about freebasing cocaine. Yeah, here we go. Freebasing cocaine is the process of freeing the cocaine base from the salt form in which cocaine is naturally found.
Yeah, it wants to be free.
Freebase cocaine has virtually none of the drug's additive, hydrochloride. Oh, it's essentially the product. There are various methods for freebasing cocaine. It typically involves using a small glass pipe, a small piece of clean, heavy copper. Why is they giving you the instructions?
You know who knows a lot about freebasing?
I'm going to go with Richard Pryor.
Well, Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But have you seen the shots of Hunter Biden's teeth?
Oh, yeah. Before the death.
That dude is done.
Oh, he had total meth mouth.
Would you see the meme? The meme was, Dark Brandon after the speech that has his eyes alight and said, daughter, it's shower time. I mean,
God. I don't think I'm not even.
This may be the worst political family in American history.
I think it is the worst political family.
I mean, we had Billy Carter, who was kind of
come on, Johnson, LBJ, dude.
But not his
brother. I mean, I'm talking about family.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about kids, uncles, brothers, that whole thing. Yeah, I mean, Johnson did, and you know, Billy Carter was, you know, with Carter, but pound for pound, I'll put this Biden family up against any of these groups, you know, in the dysfunctional presidential Olympics. I mean,
Billy Carter just wanted to sell you beer, you know.
Right.
Hugh Rodham was, you know, doing coke and other things, but nothing on the scale of Hunter Biden. And then when you throw in the fact that this is a family, I mean, there's clearly child abuse taking place, all kinds of dysfunction of extreme forms, completely out of control behavior, the international connections to it. You don't have a family like this that's ever occupied.
Well, I'll tell you this, in our research on the Secret Service, which we're going to do part 2 on Tuesday, one of the obscure members of the Secret Service was a guy named Henry Rodham, who was Hillary Clinton's uncle. And this is I uncovered her uncle, Henry Rodham.
So the Clinton death curse extends backwards.
Yes, this is 1963, Robert.
That makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah, why stop? Why stop?
I got to do some more hush hushes on Clinton death curse. That you said that investigator. I guess maybe that one story said it was a year ago. Someone else told me he just recently passed. I'm not sure which it is, but it's the investigator who discovered Bill Clinton's secret meeting on the tarmac with the Attorney General during the 2016 campaign.
I remember
that reporter was found dead.
Ooh,
great. By the way, Robert, I listened to your
hush who got blown up in Arizona.
It was Loretta Lynch that he met with, right?
Yes.
Loretta Lynch.
Let me just
not to be confused with Loretta Lynn, the country singer. But go on.
Yeah, Loretta Lynn was a great country singer.
Of course.
Did you know that Linda Carter was originally the character in Apocalypse Now, and that there's like even a fake Playboy profile of her. She's the singer who gets.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was supposed to be her. She actually filmed half of it. Then there was a hurricane, so that it got postponed. She got a Wonder Woman gig, and then was later replaced. But I didn't realize that that was originally her.
I've watched that segment in slow motion many times. And the intro is done by the legendary Bill Graham of the Fillmore East and West, who introduces them.
Yes,
the legendary impresario.
What was it like being a music producer? Or like doing music shows or doing the shows on tour? For him or? Yeah, for him. Yeah, I know. I mean, he was there for a lot of the major shows. With the Fillmore East, I mean, he was basically at the Fillmore West. Because isn't he the guy that Hunter Thompson talks about? Oh, yeah, of course. Bill Graham was a legend. Yeah, I mean. Doesn't he introduce like Fleetwood Mac and everybody? He introduces a lot of bands. Yes. I mean, plus he managed them too. Like he managed, I think he would come out and do like an intro, you know. Especially the Fillmore West, because he was living in San Francisco. He was very rarely. Still there? What's that? Is the Fillmore still there? I don't. No. Neither one is there. Yeah, I thought I went back and looked, and I was like, nope, not the there. Fillmore East, which is the only one I ever went to, which is on 2nd Avenue and 2nd Street. The shows were $2. You could buy a ticket for $2. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It was like a 2,500 seat little theater down there. But holy cow, did they have headliners and long bills? I mean, what are you sharing now, David? But I didn't just pull this up. The Christopher Sign, Alabama knew that dead at 45. That's pretty young. He probably took the booster. Scroll up. They claim. No, I want to look at the date. Well, 2021. Okay, June 13th. It was 2021. But I think it was. He was found dead. Saturday, the cops received a call. Yada yada. Where does it say? They ruled it suicide. It's being investigated as. Oh, there you go. Well, that happens a lot around the Clintons. Let me ask you something. Can I do swatting with this VPN, Eric? No. Oh, okay. You see, Bannon. Why is Bannon still living in D.C.? Another schmuck. The same thing, like you said, with what's his name living in New York. James O'Keefe. Well, the schmuck. He's an idiot. He's going to do 5 years now because he likes to live in Greenwich Village. Yeah, I mean it's the same. But apparently they've expanded swatting. Did you see how they swatted Bannon? Yes, twice. It wasn't just police. It was like ambulance. It was like fire department. Dude, they sent 15 IRS guys in training with air guns just to practice swatting for the future. Yeah, exactly. Alec Baldwin's training for IRS now, or training. After that report came out, like we said, he pulled the trigger. It's now clear he pulled the trigger. I assume the DA.
What are you saying? Haven't you heard of Fanning, Robert?
Yeah,
That's Fanning. Haven't you heard of Fanning?
It remind me again now how Fanning explains how he didn't pull the trigger.
Right.
It doesn't. It has to be a modified weapon to do that. And you would have to, the only way he could have not pulled the trigger is that he had the trigger already pulled.
That's right.
I think
that was one of my original theories, that he just had the trigger all the way repressed, and then he just
But there were people that were saying that would only have made sense if he had his finger on the trigger, then pulled the hammer back.
Right. If he had it pulled ahead of time, then he didn't pull the trigger. It was already pulled.
Well, I think Viva's premise about him was right. I think he was pissed.
Yep.
And he's like, I'll show you something. You're dragging me, especially what you said, Mark, about he probably didn't want to be there, didn't feel he should.
Right. I talked to some other people afterwards, and everybody agrees this is something that the stand-in would do at the end of the day or in post-production. I mean,
or even the AD might do it.
The AD has done it. The stand-in has done it. Anyone with a similar hand to the star can do that as an extra take, as an outtake, for a close-up. Stars never do that. But that being said, he was on a low-budget film, and they were probably saying, let's get this over with, So he's showing multiple cocked hammers, maybe getting angry like Viva was saying, or maybe not. Sometimes you do this after lunch and you're bloated, or you're doing this before lunch and you're hungry and you're ready to go. You just shoot the woman right in the chest so you can go to lunch. I mean, that's very common.
I just wonder if he had told if this is the truth, if he had said it from the beginning, exonerated or inculpated. I had no idea.
What does inculpated mean?
Guilty. Like, is it like, would that be?
He's definitely guilty. I still don't think he gets prosecuted.
Right. I mean, it's some level of second or third degree negligent homicide.
Well, especially since what a number of people pointed out is that even if it were a blank, that could still discharge something that can actually hurt somebody. So, and then he says, I would never pull the trigger, because we're told not to pull the trigger because it damages the firing pin.
Up. Yeah,
I would never.
Look, 1 minute he says, I wouldn't know anything. I'm not an armorer. And then 10 minutes later, he's given a full discourse on how the rounds are created and everything else. If you watch his I
would never point a gun at somebody, but she told me to, so I did it. None of it made sense.
Of course, as you guys talked about, there's even a Clinton connection potentially in her death.
There's always a Clinton connection.
There's a connection because of her father
and husband
being the Sean Connery of Hunt for Red October, the Ukrainian sub-commander who served in the Soviet Union. I mean, there's that connection. And her sex slaves in the basement, her famous documentary she did for the BBC about Russian sex slaves in England.
Now, a lot of people, I think where people have gone mistaken connection, where they think there's a connection, is Anne Heche. I think that
there's nothing there, except I can't talk about it because I'm too close to that one, but there is nothing there. Let me just tell you that much. She was going crazy for a number of years, drugs and alcohol. Her management and I'll just leave it at this. Her management and reps tried to do 4 or 5 interventions on her. None of them took. She fired them all, as happens. This is what happened to Hunter Thompson. This is what happens to a lot of people who resent having an intervention. Plenty of actors have gone through this, and the usual retaliation, which is why they don't want to get involved to begin with. Everybody blames them as enablers. There's a flip side to that. They get fired by trying to do an intervention. And in this case, that's what happened. 4 or 5 times they tried to intervene on her to no avail.
What I've heard a lot from people in the drug rehab space is that if the person doesn't want it, like intervention will only work if it's their pretext because they really actually want somebody to pull them out.
Except in the case when, and this is rare, this may be 5 to 20% of the time, when a judge sentences you in an alternative to jail. And I've seen that work about 20% of the time, where they're sentenced to X amount of meetings. And there's plenty of celebrities who have done this, including
Robert Downey Jr.
Including Mel Gibson. Well, he did hard time at Corcoran State. I mean, Downey had to do hard time, but I'm talking about the judge sentencing someone in the external world to do that. That works about 5 to 20% of the time.
Gentlemen, I have been summoned to my wife.
Are you going to go on that? You going on that alligator hunt?
No, we did that at lunch. Tonight we're going to go on another alligator
your anniversary
hunt. Today's our anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the evening. I'm going to listen as I walk to meet her there's some outdoor event somewhere. So Have a good weekend, everyone.
I should probably start hitting super chats too.
Thank you. Oh, now we got to switch it. He's stuck. He's stuck in the box. You like this format, Hunley, or you want to flip it the other way?
No, I figure that you two will be going at it, but I want to get some super chats out because we've got about 16. A lot of generous people here.
Go ahead.
Little Rock, loyal guy. He's on with Viva Fry all the time.
A lot. Yeah, hold on.
Hey guys, good to see two of my 3 favorite channels. Loves Crowder too at the same time. Bring him up to speed. Hopefully we did. We don't know anything.
Well, if I get more information, I'll bring you up to speed from the Canadian government.
And Special Agent Johnson saving the day.
Wow, go Johnson.
Thank you very much.
He'll be in the Tuesday episode as one of the dark forces of the Secret Service.
I think he may be. Maybe. Rogue Thought, what I heard last night, the beatings will begin if unification hasn't improved.
What is that in reference to?
The dark Brandon.
Oh, I see. Right, right.
Opinions on the Dark Brandon speech. Will their fear of Trump get him to support the same course of it is kind of scary. I think everybody would agree with that. Got a new member with Philip Carruthers.
There you go.
Sparty Matt, who's a teacher, which is really awesome.
The teacher. The history
We're
teacher.
helping poison the future minds of America, Barnes.
Right.
I'm really happy.
Well, you saw, like when we were discussing on Sidebar with Jackson Hinckley, I was trying to show the audience. They were thrown off by him self-defining himself as a Marxist. They're like, well, what? Everybody's like, what are you doing? Well, why do you have a market? You know, And it was like, he means something very different by it. But it was introduced that for millennials and Zoomers, the educational system has they're not taught any real American history. They're not given introduction to any of the great American authors, to many of the great Enlightenment authors.
But that's intentional, Robert.
Absolutely, it's intentional.
That's part of
James O'Keefe has been exposed that they were threatening to arrest him. Wasn't that it was New York or Connecticut where they were threatening to arrest him?
Oh, that was Trinity. That was one of the great old private schools in New York. That was at Trinity. You either go to Trinity or Horace Mann, but that particular one was a woman at Trinity.
Yeah, it's like they're definitely not teaching Orwell.
Oh, baklava is an actual thing you wear?
Yeah, get the honey out of my hair for weeks. It's
I
also
thought baklava was a food, right?
It is a food. It's both. It's a food and a mask. Yeah.
Okay, that's why. I get it. I'm slow. Love the education. Thank you very much, Russell Bean.
I don't know anything about this.
I don't know about
accidental. What is that?
I know
national personnel.
God, there were so many bombings, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Awesome.
I mean, I
that is
couldn't keep
because,
up.
I mean, the CIA was busy destroying everything they could once the committee got formed.
Well, now they're setting fire to every food processing plant in the United States, Robert.
Well, and they never find J. Edgar Hoover's actual secret files. They just vanished.
Well, everybody's is taken upon death. Everyone's files are taken. I think that's. That just goes without saying.
Apparently he had his files in different location, and he had special instructions. Secretary, his the Hoover apologist friends keep saying he was just his close friend who he happened to live with.
Well, I liked it. You pointed out that he would fit in today if he had lived. The reverse would be true. But as I pointed out, McCabe, who was the tall FBI director that Comey was a homosexual. Comey had the guy who was a professor at NYU, who he leaked the stuff to, was his lover.
Really?
And yes, that's why he was going. That. Oh, yes, I brought that.
This is why Barnes keeps coming back.
That's why you got to keep coming back, Barnes. Comey had a lover in New York. That was the guy he leaked the stuff to, who was out gay professor in New York at NYU, and that's why Comey would go to these performances with his daughters and cry openly at all these woke shows that they went to on Broadway. Oh, no. Comey was in the spirit of J. Edgar Hoover, my friend.
You did admire the guy.
I did admire him.
I heard loosely about there being some sort of scandal involving the funding of the movie, but I never don't know the full details of it.
Which movie?
The Wolf of Wall Street.
The Wolf of Wall Street. But what the other movie is the one that Clint Eastwood directed, which was a cleanup of the Hoover image. That's what I think you were referring to the other night.
Yep.
How even members of the right, like Clint Eastwood, do not believe any of this stuff about Hoover, which is what that movie was about.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing is a great place to do money laundering is through movies. If you know what you're doing.
Well, I guess you're going to find out. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I don't know what BD39 is, but
I have no idea what BD39 is.
Birthday. It's probably their 39th birthday.
It's now my
okay.
I see. It's his 39th birthday. I got you.
Okay.
Rich to the core of Moyer knows this. As a Moyle, he has to use grits all the time in a lot of the Moyle services that he does for the Goyim. When he's
I hope Pasha's on our locals, because we had the Moyle ad from Saturday Night Live that we put up there by your request too.
Thank you.
What have been some of the best memes that you guys have got so far? I've seen. Mark sends me a few of them through Twitter.
Oh, we've got a nice run going right now with Oswald. It's kind of getting like a Bat Boy thing going.
Right.
And appearing, he's been kidnapped.
Oh, that's a great idea. Have him show up everywhere. I mean,
this woman keeps putting him on the front page. He's been kidnapped on a newspaper. I mean,
now he's a criminal, and he's on the run.
Now he's on the run. This is a Bat Boy thing. Well, we used to do that with Bat Boy.
I know that's. I actually have talked to her. I said, "Well, I saw what she was doing." I said, "This is kind of like a Bat Boy thing," and I hope she continues. It's a wonderful
when I joined
fun.
The Weekly World News, I put Bat Boy in the caves of Tora Bora hunting bin Laden with the Marines. That was my moving the chessboard a little further down there with Bat Boy. But others picked up the ball and ran further with Bat Boy years later.
Oh, I saw something. I don't know about you. A lot of companies set up in Ireland simply to do a tax treaty protection, and really
Apple famously did that. I forget.
And they didn't set up real operations in Ireland. Ireland thinks they're not getting the benefit of that. It just became a tax loophole they could line their pockets with and reward politicians. So that's why there's an Irish backlash currently. But speaking of Europe, I saw some of the Bat Boy stories, but I saw you were on like German 60 Minutes.
Yeah. Where did you see that? Oh yeah, Germany years ago they came
YouTube feed.
Yeah, they came here.
There's in Germany.
Yeah. They came here with a crew, and I took them around to show them the luxury rehabs. I brought them the Promises in Malibu, and it was very funny. I was really serious about it, and I'm typing away on doing a story, and it was some really hot German woman who was, I guess, the Leslie Stahl of Deutschland or something. But yeah, it was German 60 Minutes. It was kind of fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Panama, the only place I ever stood in line for a feature film, only discovers.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yes, that's very Panama, by the way. I had a client once, or ex-client, went and moved down there, got obsessed with it, then started getting random emails from his girlfriend saying, "Please help me escape."
Oh my God!
I was like, I don't represent him anymore. I'm not involved in this. I don't know.
Mark, grab your headphones.
Grab my headphones now. Okay.
Oh, there's getting a little echo.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think it only comes through there, but maybe I'm echoing too.
It's between the two. When if the two of us have it, it'll be a little bit better. But let me hit mute. Do that.
Fillmore West.
Okay. First Twitter suspension calling. Bill Crystal is kind of a war whore.
He is a war whore. He's one of the biggest war whores. He's just a cheap war whore.
How's that?
Yeah, that looks good.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
The speech felt like something the Emperor would deliver in Star Wars. Yeah. That's some creepy imagery, and I cannot. What was it? There was I want to say a Republican stage that they tried to say, "Oh, look at this," and they compared the shape and it did all this study. It's like, you're going to do that, but then you're going to put this together.
Would you see what CNN tried to do? They started realizing it was bad, and so they tried to soften the lighting while they were broadcasting.
Right. And then the people turned on that.
Oh, so they used the anti-Joe Rogan filter?
Yes.
Remember that Joe Rogan filter where he looked all sick and oh my God.
You see, Harwood got canned. That CNBC hack that was over at CNN.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Because CNN has new owners. So the question is, how much are they really going to purge the bad actors?
I hope they keep
Seltzer's gone.
One guy.
Seltzer's gone. Chris Cuomo's gone.
Mm-hmm. And what's cool, though, is they're like running like rats. Mark and I did a reaction to Chris Cuomo with Alec Baldwin.
I saw that.
That was great.
That's why people got to subscribe, because you got to have more subscribers than Chris Cuomo. Looks bad.
I know. I am.
And John Hinckley. John Hinckley has more subscribers.
But I understand that. You know what I mean? Just out of pure perverse curiosity. It's like, I get to follow an assassin singing music. Oh, this is interesting.
Right.
It's still wrong. It can't stand. It can't stand. It cannot stand.
It can't stand. I mean,
we cover assassin.
Why doesn't Sirhan have his own channel? I mean, if you're going to give a channel to Hinckley.
That's true. What I didn't realize until you mentioned it, Mark, was that Jodie Foster might have helped provoke.
Yes,
Hinckley.
I didn't come up with that. That's been written about from that time period, that she might have been a provocation for him because they were taunting him unmercifully. He would call up on the phone and express his love for her, and she would gather the gaggle of girls, and they would snicker and laugh and say stuff and whatever they did to him.
Media covered that up because they made her look like a poor little victim of a stalker family.
She was no victim, my friend. She was no victim.
I had a client who got her house after she left, and he was like, the toys in this place are totally freakish.
You mean Jodie's house or
Jodie Foster's house in the Hollywood Hills? I got arrested at that house.
Really?
Had nothing to do with me. It was the original swatting. So I've had a general rule: never represent any clients that live in the Hollywood Hills.
That's a
Anywhere
good
else in LA, manageable. Hollywood Hills, there's always weird stuff that happens.
Oh yeah.
The Joe Francis.
And the parking is terrible. You can't find a place to park.
Yeah, and it just feels like one long drug overdose. Just being around Hollywood Hills, it feels like
hard to get out of there after a party. I'll tell you, you got to shoot your way out sometimes.
Yeah, well, it is great to go there for Sundays because everybody's so hungover. I could actually get a good breakfast at a couple of the breakfast places.
Well, we're going to find out on Tuesday, speaking of hungover, how many Secret Service agents were hungover the morning of the assassination, because 9 of them ended up in the infamous cellar, Patrick Kirkwood's famous place in Fort Worth, where they were drinking Everclear with Salty Dicks was the name of the drink. A Salty Dick. I'm sorry to say, Salty Dick was the drink, and it was some
so
sort.
He'll say it 4 more times.
No,
I'm sorry
the Salty Dick did not have the Everclear in it. The Everclear was added to the Salty Dick, and the Salty Dick was merely, I think it was grapefruit juice and some other juice, salt and grapefruit juice, and then you put in the Everclear.
So another alcohol could be added to a Salty Dick, is what you're telling us.
Right. I don't want to say anything about the Salty Dick. What I'm trying to say is these guys were there until 6 a.m. in the morning, the Secret Service guys. Some of them lost their guns. Some of them lost their badges. They had to recall in November of 63 every Secret Service ID that was out there to issue new IDs because of the situation at the cellar that happened that night.
Well, it's amazing how, and there's still bars that kind of operate that way,
right?
In the sense of deep state.
The
fronts,
brown bag
mob fronts.
Yeah,
I know a buddy of mine from Milwaukee ran a bunch of cool places. Then all of a sudden, just shut down shop and became the bartender at a small dive in Chicago. And I was like, "What is this about?" And then I figured out who ran the place.
Yeah, I mean they had setups. They gave you a setup, and you brought your own booze, or as Patrick Kirkwood said, they gave away 500 gallons indirectly to from their own stash for free.
Right.
They just didn't charge you any money. And apparently it's not illegal to not sell alcohol. You can actually give it away, and which is kind of what they did.
Is that kind of what is done now with I think they did it in strip clubs in Arizona. It'd be like people would sneak in their own alcohol or whatever.
Bring your own beer. Bring your own beer policy.
That's true. I never heard that.
Yeah, links in the 80s.
Because
I asked my librarian here in Los Feliz after the tranny children's hour, will they be bringing in pole dancers next?
I've heard about your librarian and your relationship.
So
I'm sure it's going well.
This is not going well, but I mean, I think she's a direct descendant of Che Guevara, and merged with the Dewey Decimal System somehow. I once asked her where all the Kennedy assassination books are in the library. It's not one of them. She says, I can't put them out. And I said, why? And she said, they steal them. I go, who's they? And she says, And I go, no, tell me who they are. Who keeps stealing these books? Because I'd like to take one out of the library someday. You know what I mean? But she just looked at me and smirked and walked away. She looks like a little troll. But the tranny story hour will be followed by the pole dancing children's hour, then the stripping hour, which is coming on next Sunday.
Well, they want to train them for future employment.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is a vocational type of thing, Mark. Okay, so what is everybody's thoughts on the Hunter Biden movie?
I haven't seen
the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah. No, I saw the trailer. I don't have to see the film. I mean, it just.
You just thought, no, not good.
Oh, no,
Isn't it a Robert Davi production?
Yeah, I mean, Davi's never directed a movie before. He's 71 years old. How can this possibly go well? You know what I mean? It's just, he's a minor gangster in TV movies. I mean, this has a recipe for every director turned this down and somebody said, how about Davi? He's in the next room. Why don't you bring him in here? And that's kind of what we had with this movie. It does not look good.
I mean, the other thing with these movies made quickly is the production quality. You have doubts about.
Right. I mean, it's usually the giveaway is the makeup, the hair and makeup, because that takes the longest, and it's always reflected badly in a low budget film with a short shooting schedule. Nothing takes longer than hair and makeup. So if you're doing a period piece or a biopic, which is essentially what this is, it takes hours and hours and days and hours to get the hair and makeup right. So the star has to come in and sit there for half a day and get paid. And that's not a luxury you can have with a low budget film. So the giveaway is always hair and the makeup and the transformation.
Okay, and that would be even more so with like all the side characters to
absolutely.
To spend the money.
They get short shrift. They get short shrift. They just slap it on. Yeah, that's J. Edgar Hoover. Get him out there. You know what I mean? But in a big budget film, it's literally days before the film starts, photographing alternative types of makeup, plastic, hair, everything for days before the film starts. And then even the day of may take a half a day, and you'll only get an hour out of them. But that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off.
Now, why do you think the Secret Service has mostly been let off the hook in most Kennedy assassination issues? Because, to me,
the key word is in their name, secret. I mean, think about how many government agencies have the actual name secret in front of it, their official name, Robert. They had their own photographic lab, by the way, which I recently found out because of counterfeiting. And they're the ones that did the phony autopsy photos. They seized the autopsy photos and took them to the Secret Service lab, also in D.C., to alter those photos. I mean, they have their fingers in every single part of the assassination. It's astounding. And on top of it is James Rowley, who is with LBJ, sewn to the hip with him. So, yeah, I mean, and the reason they've been ignored is because of the secrecy that they laid down.
And their credo. I think there's more to it, too. I think it's the reputation of, how dare you question somebody whose whole function is to throw him or herself in front of a bullet. So there is kind of a little mythology with them as well that I think.
How many times have the Secret Service actually thrown themselves?
Well, this is one guy in the Reagan case.
Case.
McCarthy, that guy, Timothy, he threw himself in front of the bullet, spread himself out wider to take the bullet.
Wow.
I want to see a woman Secret Service agent do what this guy did. Not to be misogynistic, but for the love of God. I mean, this guy, what an incredible move. And one of the things they point out in the assassination attempt with Reagan is how quickly they responded under 5 seconds. Right. While these guys in Dallas were just watching the wheels turn for over 6.
Poppy Bush didn't have enough allies to do what he was trying to do in 1981.
Oh, shit.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Baklava
wasn't Smollett wearing one?
I don't know. Was he wearing one? I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows what he was wearing? He was more worried about other people's caps. Robert, what judicial circuits are safe to live on?
We should have a map of safe circuits.
That's not.
It's going to be like
and then put up housing prices, rental costs.
I was asked by somebody who's thinking about moving from Canada down here. Where should I go?
It's becoming a dystopian, futuristic. What are the safe havens? What are the shelters? What are the where are the sanctuaries from the corrosive corruption?
We're going to have to hire the Mexican drug cartel to drill us and dig tunnels from the red states into the blue states, just so we can have like an underground railroad in the future.
That was useful. I was smart about Chapo. I've told people, he was like, if I was in your situation, I'd have a tunnel. And he just kept laughing. I was like, hey, it worked for El Chapo. I mean, he got out of a prison with building a tunnel.
Tunnels are unbelievable.
That was his genius change.
Yeah, I know. Shawshank Redemption.
Fillmore West is now the SVN West. Okay, one of the best concerts ever attended Thanksgiving '76. Of course, yeah, the Winterland, but that's not the Fillmore West. That's at Winterland.
The Moyle is in our locals. That's right.
Indeed, I am on your locals. Check out the meme I posted there today. Well, we'll get to that afterwards. And
okay, here we go. Good. Oswald is everywhere.
Oh, I thought the dog was Patsy. Who's Patsy?
The dog is Oswald. He's a Patsy.
Oh, the dog's a Patsy. I'm sorry.
That's his breed.
That's his breed.
Yeah.
Okay.
His breed is Patsy's breed. Oswald's the name. Patsy's the breed.
I plan to join Robert in the legal fight against the deep state when I get through licensure of law school. I'm sure Robert loves licensure, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
you know, more for the fight. Absolutely. Congratulations.
Let's see.
Like Everson. Okay.
Oh yeah, Medgar Evers. One of my favorite quotes. I mean, he takes it from Shakespeare.
I see. Right.
Good source.
Yes.
All right. Freeform Friday is the most important podcast on earth right now. Agreed.
Right.
Especially after Barnes on a fire truth blasting yesterday on the Duran. Booyah, Godspeed. I heard about that from Mark earlier. He was saying that you went all the way from caveman to space.
No, I went. The history that you spanned went from caveman to Batman. That's my quote about yesterday's Duran.
Much better.
The history of the planet started with caveman, ended with Batman. What a great performance yesterday! Holy shit, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. What's fascinating is they get such a cross political section of supporters,
right?
That the people that it's this old left. Well, really began over a century ago. But like they want to pretend everything's fine with China, everything's fine with Cuba, everything's fine with
me because when I watch these guys like you do, Blumenthal and these other cats, Jimmy Dore, and they get up and I'm going, yeah, this is right. Go on, keep going, boys. Now you got it. And they go, fuck Israel. I go, what? Wait, whoa, what's this? And I just slam on the brakes and I have to listen to this Chomsky-ite insane relativity of like, go Palestinians. I'm going like, wait a minute, you had me there for a long time.
It's these weird blind. Everybody has weird blind spots, and the right has them too.
It mirrors like the Soviet Union. You know, if you were on the Soviet side or the communist side or the far left side, you adopted a whole bunch of positions.
Right.
That what's amazing is post-Soviet Union, they still have the same positions. So that
what's interesting is the books, the textbooks and the comic books were paid for by the Soviet Union. And those are the anti-Semitic ones that are still in use today in the Palestinian territories because Mohammed Abbas has a master's degree, oddly enough, from the University of Palestine, whatever that is, on the elders of the protocols of the elders of Zion. I didn't know you could get a degree in this.
Popular books for all of Ford's efforts. He was nowhere nearly as successful as that book has become throughout all of the Arab world.
Just to explain what Robert's talking about, Henry Ford, when you got a new Model T off the assembly line, had a pamphlet in the glove compartment, the actual printing of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, one of the most virulent anti-Semitic tracts ever created, going back to the Cossacks in Russia. Then, also French intelligence beefed it up. It's been used by different intelligence groups throughout history. But Henry Ford, not to be outdone, which is why most of the Jews that I know never drove a Ford. And that was drilled into me by my grandfather. If you ever drove a Ford in my family, you were a dead man walking, because that Henry Ford had a newspaper called the Dearborn Gazette in Dearborn, Michigan, one of the most anti-Semitic newspapers in the history of the world. He was finally sued by, I think, the JDL or the American Jewish Council or some group, and he finally was so humiliated in terms of public opinion, Robert, which you talk about, that he gave up the ownership of that paper at that time. But when you bought a Model T Ford, that came with it. You had to change the tire, had to change the oil, and had to change the world by getting rid of the Jews.
All right. Hey, I doubt I'll do an autobiography. Not interesting enough. Or it'd be like 2 pages.
I don't know.
What's interesting is
we're doing it here.
People are more interested in specific stories on specific topics. Is my experience.
Yeah. Than the person themselves. Absolutely.
Well, I think we're doing Mark's right now in all of his stories in these shows.
Great show. Oh, hottie. You guys are brilliant. Mark's a hottie. What's a hottie? A Hottentot. What's a Hottentot? Wasn't that like the African natives were called Hottentots?
I don't know.
I think of a hot toddy, the drink.
Oh, hot toddy is a drink. You guys.
Thank you, Tamara. Another new member. Awesome. And look who's come in. Oh. Georgina. Thank you so much. She's going to sign for a VPN. Thank you.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
It worked. It worked.
Hey, I appreciate it.
I mean, it is. People should have it. I mean, it's just a practical tool to maximize your privacy.
And that's why I was glad to do it, because I'm like, that I actually believe in VPN, so I'm not. It's an easy sell.
There's a part of me that, and it's a part of me, and it may be the rebellious part, that's a come and get me part that doesn't want to do anything to hide who I am. Does that make any sense, Robert?
Oh yeah, no, I understand that.
I mean, there's a part of me just says, fuck you, come and get me, bro. I ain't hiding from no man. You know what I mean? But there's also a rational part that, when I had the military intelligence in my apartment, after they put 8 wiretaps on my landline, said I better be more careful. You know what I mean? But yeah,
I think it's a mix. Well, okay, but there's come and get you, but then there's also advertiser harassment.
I know.
And that's annoying. So, I mean, some of it is just like, or I want to watch something from another country. And that right there is worth it because, like Oliver Stone, remember for a while, you couldn't watch his stuff here because it was limited to Europe. Well, VPN could get you there to watch it.
I see it as like individual empowerment. In other words, it gives you a little more power over the corporate state.
Yeah, I remember asking Oliver what he does about it, and he just says, fuck him. He just came from that school.
Yeah.
Like,
well, at some point, if you're under constant scrutiny, you can't care.
He just said, fuck him. I can't even worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be there all the time. But for the ordinary person, I think it's useful it's useful just to develop the skill set, to know what these techniques are, know what these tools are, because you never know when you might need them down the road.
Well, getting back to what you were saying before about the anti-imperialist left, which is helpful, they do have these blind spots, which is not helpful. And I don't know how you get around that.
Oh, they get real agitated. Like when I'm in the Duran, they'll start raiding the live chat.
I was reading that last night. That's what I saw.
They just go berserk. And it's like, oh, that's just propaganda. I mean, especially my favorite commenter, though, was the one who was trying to tell me, you believe a bunch of propaganda about Mao and Stalin.
Yeah, I saw that one. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Defending Mao and Stalin now. Do you not realize the insanity of this?
Right. I like that they say you're a liar, but they never put out what you're lying about. That's my favorite.
No,
it happens to me
if you say anything that's anti-China, if you say anything that's anti-Cuba, anti-Venezuela.
Or Fuentes.
Oh yeah, well those guys are obsessed. They fall. Though he's in all kinds of trouble.
Well, Owen Benjamin, by the way, a lot of people are pretty pissed off at us in the chat. You'll see that later, Mark. But
about Owen Benjamin
being
that we were saying that he was a little bit crazy. Yeah. They're like,
I'm not saying anything. I don't know anything about the guy. All I'm saying is this guy's missing, and unless this guy fakes his own death all the time, I'm going to assume that he's missing.
Well, remember. I mean, Owen Benjamin also used the Andrew Tate stuff to he's trying to get some attention is the way I took it, because he jumps on the Gavin thing in ways that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And then he jumps on the Andrew Tate thing. Like all of a sudden he's the great defender of moral purity. It's like, okay.
Again, this guy is
hang out with Nick Fuentes and guys that like to dress up as little cats and chase each other around then.
I just want an answer as to what this Gavin McInnes story is. Just as an investigative journalist, I want to know. I don't care if he faked it. I just want an answer. I mean, if you faked it, it's a great story. I reached out to a friend at the Miami Herald about Guantanamo Bay, that maybe he's down there as a Canadian citizen. Maybe he was,
that was something I said. That was my scariest
thing. He could have been taken down there. I mean, I can't put anything past him because of this whole discussion you had yesterday about Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy, about the, bringing in your phone and having it copied and mirrored, and to put anything past this regime is laughable. The fact that this guy says, or his co-workers say that federal agents arrested him, why would I think otherwise? Why would I'm supposed to think he faked that? I mean, that's absurd. I mean, it may have happened, but that's not my first thought.
I've known Gavin for many years. That would not fit.
Right. Okay. Right. Gavin. That's what I understand. So, right.
It's always possible, but I think remote.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Yeah. Well, he usually likes to do pranks in your face.
Yeah,
that are obvious, exactly. Like the Proud Boys.
He's an old frat boy kind of personality.
Right. Yeah, and I read his book, for God's sake. So I've got knowledge, on that. Yeah, and he's never. I mean, everything about him is pretty abrasive and in your face. Kind of like Michael Malice. They're not completely different to me. I think there's similarities there.
This guy, he seems like a conservative Howard Stern in a lot of ways. He's got a set there with a desk, and he's got a microphone, and he's abrasive, and I'm all for that.
All right, surprise! There's not more Secret Service modern version of Praetorian Guard. Yeah, okay, good point.
I'm surprised there isn't more.
What was the Marilyn Manson's? I just saw a headline.
Okay, yeah. I actually broke this last night. Crazy story, Robert. You'll have to check it out. But one of his accusers, Ashley Morgan Smithline, there's a bunch of women who accused him of everything, right? Well, one of his accusers, her lawyer, is also a lawyer of another accuser. And her lawyer, J. Elwinger, and if you say it really fast, it's Jailwinger. That was Rob's quip last night, which is hilarious. Funny. But anyway, this guy has been representing her and saying, oh, she can't come to deposition because she has a mental health crisis. And Howard King, who is Marilyn Manson's lawyer, is like, okay, fine, delayed it a couple of weeks. Then the day before, all of a sudden last week, Jailwinger comes out and says, I have an impossible client. And it broke all the headlines. He was trying to fire his client, one of the Manson accusers. Well, then yesterday, Howard King released 92-page document with full receipts. And I actually spoke to Ashley Morgan Smithline through DMs. She fired Jailwinger in April.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
She has texts of her trying to fire him, voice messages saying, no, you son of a bitch, you're fired. And he's going back, I don't know what's going on, Ashley. I have to get on the phone with you. And in May, and she was contacting Howard King, I think, the whole time. Anyway, in May, Howard King goes, what is going on with your client? I hear rumors that you were fired. What's going on? Oh, that's not true. And he's been stringing him along this whole time. So this guy's representing her, saying that she's having emergency psychiatric treatment. She never left England. She was on a shoot. She said, I never went anywhere. That's a complete lie. And there's 92 pages of all this. I mean, it's a complete nightmare. Now, from what I understand from Rob, this is true. Jailwinger is in deep shit because it sounds to me like Avenatti type stuff.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if this was going on when Jimi Hendrix was alive, that they would be doing this to rock stars back in the day? Think about all the crazy crap with the Me Too and everything else.
Jim Morrison.
I was going to say next, Jim Morrison. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, there used to be a group called the Plaster Casters. I don't know if you guys know who the Plaster Casters were. This was a group. I don't know how to phrase this, but this was a group of groupies, really hot groupies, who followed all these rock stars around and talked them into doing plaster of Paris molds of their penises, fully erect, and then put them on gallery displays. And they still have gallery shows to this day of all these famous rock stars' genitalia. Let me just put it that way. And I'm just thinking, like, how could this possibly fly today? You know, in this thing where every day somebody's dissing, Shia LaBeouf is fighting TK Twiggy in England. And, you know, all these beefs are going on. Careers are being destroyed. I mean, it's just insane. These are all, every single one of these things are always consenting adults, as far as I could see. It's almost like the world's gone completely backwards in terms of rock and roll and movies and art.
No doubt.
Those were always the most liberated relationships.
It kind of shifted to the way I've described it to people is it's back to the 1930s style left. That's very statist, that's very fascistic, that's very controlling. That's
it brings us back to Berlin in 1933
because they won. Whoever's in power, it becomes the asshole.
There's a reason why there was very little good comedy, and as you mentioned, very little good art that came out of the Soviets. I mean,
there's no art in a fascist totalitarian regime.
No,
there is no art. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's why we have no movies today. That's why we have no comedy. The comedy that they do have, they've repressed and branded. You know, look at
see with the Onion. The Onion has become terrible.
The Onion used to be great. Terrible.
I remember. My introduction to the Onion was the article because it's in. I think it's based out of Madison. Was when I was in Madison, and it was authored by a ferret that said, "I hate my stinking hippie owner." And it was just this long, maybe longer than that, like a whole page story that was just brilliant. It was that kind of humor. And now because of politics, they do like Saturday Night Live attempt at humor, and it's nowhere close, especially when you contrast it to the Babylon Bee.
Schneider just came out about that, and of course they're pillorying him, but he said that he knew Saturday Night Live was done election night 2016.
Interesting.
When Hillary did that whole bit doing Hallelujah, he said he watched that and he said, I don't want to bang on it. It's my show. He goes, But when he did Hallelujah, he's like, "There's got to be a joke on this.
Take it back to 9/11. Take it back to 9/11.
And he said, "There's got to be a joke on the end." He said, "When I saw there was no joke
until there was no jokes until Gilbert Gottfried said, I want to book a flight that goes direct to the coast without hitting a building," and everybody went, "Oh, that's too soon. Come on, Gilbert." But SNL was all solemn and after 9/11.
It's the Woody Allen joke from one of the movies: tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Right.
I forget what Philly meant. I was like, oh, that's really true. Because I was always talking about when can I start telling jokes about Kobe Bryant, for example. And
too soon. The phrase is too soon. That's in the comedy vernacular. Gilbert's always too soon, but that also goes up against cutting edge. At some point, too soon.
Right. Who's going to be the first? And you got to do it, but not
too soon. I mean, Gilbert's joke was told a million times after that to this day. You know what I mean? And they said it was too soon, but not for Gilbert. It's too soon maybe for you, if you're like a straight comic.
Well, I was want to go to a Lakers game and just chant to the Lakers, "You're going down like Kobe Bryant."
That good luck getting out of there alive. By the way, his wife just took in millions of dollars because of some photos.
For photos, 30 million for photos.
Yeah, that's what you get in LA. I mean, I'm surprised they went to trial. Usually in LA, they just write you a check to avoid trial.
That's true.
This time they put on the whole pig circus for everybody to see. And I mean pig circus, because this woman has a human head on a 300-pound Oprah body below that. And when she started with him, she was like a supermodel. I mean, I don't know how she got from supermodel to 400-pound body like that. But man, oh man, did she blow up like the Hindenburg.
She must have been on the Oprah diet.
She was on the Oprah diet. Yeah.
All right, Mark. Somebody doesn't agree. They think that deep state is deeper now than in the 60s and 70s.
It depends on how you define it.
Yeah,
it's also much more exposed, way more exposed.
Right, I agree with that too because of the internet, and I think that makes them more aggressive because we've exposed them on the internet.
But less aggressive because people aren't dying quite with the frequency. Yeah. So it's kind of a
high-profile public assassination.
Oh yeah, that's.
But I think that was all because of how many things backfired.
Right.
In other words, Kennedy, King, X. You take out Nixon through impeachment, and then all of a sudden you get the church committee. You get.
Keep in mind they did not have the levers and weapons of power like they do now. They had to kill those guys because now they're using federal judges and violating the law, as you keep pointing out. And they just say, "Fuck it, put them away, put Manafort in jail."
Or they use Facebook and Twitter.
Right. They didn't. They have more tools today, so they do not have to blow a guy's head off.
But you have the former New York police commissioner saying that he thinks Trump will get assassinated. So,
Carrick, Bernard Carrick, you're talking about. Yeah, he is not. He's not crazy.
You can't rule it out.
Right, because
I think.
What's her name? The assistant national security director, whoever this woman was, talking about the documents, saying that Trump he's not president any longer. He has no right to any secret information. And I'm going like, wait. When did he lose his security clearance? Well, I forgot that this happened. When did that happen?
Once a record's declassified, that's it. At least it was
right. No, we know that. But she said that he's a former president.
Oh, right. You're right.
He has no right to know any secrets or have briefings that are, I mean, is this true for all the presidents or just him?
Exactly.
Because the Nixonization of Trump continues.
Yes.
The civil libertarians who cried bloody murder about Nixon's enemies list do not seem to care about Biden's enemies list. I mean, the irony and hypocrisy is also not something that is known for a totalitarian regime's sidekick moment. You know what I mean? Like they do not have irony. They do not understand humor. And they can't even be self-aware enough to see that they railed against Nixon for the same things they're doing today.
Sure. El Chapo had a motorcycle on a rail in the bottom of the
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That was brilliant. He had like a rocket motorcycle. It wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a motorcycle with two rockets.
Well, why stop halfway? I mean,
what's that?
Yeah, you're right. Why stop halfway, though? If you're going to have it, why not a rocket?
It was a rocket bike. Yeah, no. El Chapo went the full 9 yards.
Thank you, Mike Kirkwood. Barnes, Jeff Snyder.
Okay. Yeah, so Jeff Snyder basically talks about central banks and the Eurodollar system, and he has a somewhat distinct perspective. So it was his perspective in part is the Fed can't really control inflation like they think they can, and for a range of reasons about how the modern banking and currency really work. in the modern age.
Let me ask you something. How fast is Germany going to collapse, Robert?
Well,
They're
I think
trying really hard.
it depends on definition of collapse. I think in terms of where they have ranked, they're on pace to recede back to pre-economic dominant, more like the 1960s, say.
You're talking about the 1460s with the Visigoths.
Yeah, well, yeah, you go ahead.
I mean, they're now chopping down wood in the Bavarian forest. I mean,
yes.
This is happening so fast, I can't keep up with it. I mean, who's going to collapse worse, Britain or Germany?
Germany. Because they're much more dependent. I mean, the deal Schroeder cut with Putin back in 2002 basically was a twofer. One is he could satiate the anti-nuke Greens by taking off nuclear energy, by replacing it with Russian natural gas.
Right.
But primarily, it was Russian natural gas gave Germany an industrial economic edge.
Absolutely.
And so Germany went, just continually steadily up when a lot of its neighbors were going down. You the way Zoltar, the Credit Suisse guy, that's a sort of a guru in the economic space. What he said is that basically,
and a Marvel comic book hero. Go on.
Interesting. Oh yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that.
Well, I think of Zoltan from the Gypsy. You can still get him at the old arcades.
Oh, that's right.
Isn't the movie Big? Isn't that shot part of that in Brooklyn? Isn't that the park they go to? The movie Big.
I thought it was Coney Island.
Oh, maybe it was
Coney Island. I think we had one of those, and it was in a glass, and it was really creepy. Yeah.
Well, actually, they have one at this old in New Hampshire. They at a place I used to go when I was a kid. They actually have it's like the biggest arcade in the world. It has all the old games going back to it goes back to the late 70s.
Yeah, they had a lot of fetuses in jars in Coney Island when I was a kid. Now you just looked and you go, "What is that?" And they go, "That's a man who was shrunk by a death ray." You go, "What?" And you go, "Yeah, it's $1. You want to see more of them? Get out of here! I don't want to see more of that, you freak."
Somebody on Rumble is mad at you there, Mark.
For what?
Apparently, they're a big Robert Davi fan. Costco Law School.
I don't care about Robert Davi, but he's not Francis Ford Coppola. Is all I'm saying.
It just cracks
He's 72 years old. He's never directed a film. If you want to invest in that movie, knock yourself out, because that's the most terrifying indie investment I've ever heard of. Who's going to direct the film? A 72-year-old character actor named Robert Davi, who portrays Frank Sinatra in nightclubs singing Frank Sinatra songs. Okay, how much do you need? I need 100,000 by Friday. Okay, I'll send you a check.
Okay, that's fine. Let me get through these last bit. We're getting into last call where everybody can hate me.
What is this baklava? This thing keeps coming
because I guess they wrote it in as baklava as the joke, and I missed it. And they're pointing at the spelling, and it's making people crazy.
Gavin was
born in the UK, grew up in Canada. He might be he
is not a U.S. citizen because he's on a green card. He's a Canadian citizen. Just to straighten that out.
I knew he still had a Canadian citizenship. I thought
he still does, and he's still a Canadian.
All right. Indy Section 1031 Guinness.
I'm not sure.
Not sure what that means.
I'm not familiar with that.
Canadians are taking it very seriously. So apparently they haven't talked to your friend there, the comedian in Washington. The Canadians, are not laughing at this.
Somebody's talking about your briefings on locals.
Yeah, they mean the bourbon with Barnes.
The
Barnes brief. I do that. It's a newsletter. So I took like your old school newsletter style, integrated your Substack style, created my own little newsletter, which puts up daily.
That doesn't like the color of your magic markers.
Yeah, they want you to use yellow highlighting.
Orange doesn't copy well. Sunday's review. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, that often depends on a person's own the way they read it. So, Locals is now exploring creating an article function like Substack.
Yeah, we're on the beta.
Can we do that?
I'm on the beta too. Yeah, and so occasionally there's still quirks. So sometimes somebody will open up in mobile and it will have everything bolded and underlined. Little things like that. So some of those quirks they're still working out.
Can I post some of my articles on there?
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Okay. Now I meant to ask you this anyway, Robert, about the Solomon Islands.
Oh yeah. So what is Solomon Islands economically aligned with China? They've had some anti-Chinese riots that have occurred that upset China. So Solomon Islands cut a deal to have a military pact with China.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You would think that would be the front page of the freaking New York Times, but apparently not.
It came up about a couple of months ago, but it was kind of a low simmer story.
Yeah.
And then there was an assumption that, well, the U.S. is testing it. So the U.S. sent some ships in, and Solomon Islands said no.
Yeah.
And so China's going to expand into the South China Seas. The people who defend China claim it's only defensive what they're doing. Those that are critics of China see it as more ambitious and expansionistic and aggressive. We'll find out in time. I mean, what is if you even if you think of China as being defensively oriented militarily, all the islands in the South China Seas. I mean, this is how we beat Japan, was island to island to island around Japan.
Yeah. My father was down there. Many people's fathers who watch the show. My father was down there in the Solomon Islands on the USS Tangier. I mean, we shed a lot of blood to defend those islands and Australia. I mean, if somebody's given them up, I'd like to know if that's U.S. foreign policy. My dad would be rolling over in his grave if he heard this way.
Well, it's further evidence that the critics of China have said they're using, like Tucker Carlson, that they're using their economic power to induce military alliances and allegiances.
Right.
And Solomon Islands is a testament to that. And so it's what's expanding all the way through. And so the question is, when or if there's people who are idiots who want us to go to war with China militarily because they think that we will win, when there's a lot of reason to think that's not, given the size of the Chinese army, it's a nuclear power, et cetera.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to shoot down some drones too, just like they did in Taiwan yesterday. But to answer that guy's question about the Tesla charging, one day they said they mandated electric cars in the state of California right here. The next day they said we can't plug them in because the grid won't hold it because of the heat wave. And right now it's about 2% of the cars in California are electric, 2 to 5. And they still can't plug them in. I was in Reseda yesterday. It was 115 degrees. I did not see any electric cars on the road, by the way, because
did you hear what happened in Colorado?
No.
The private companies were taking over people's thermostats.
Oh, I've been talking about this for 2 years. LA did the same thing. They had PSA ads on TV. Hey, how would you like a brand new remote control thermostat? This went on every day for a year. It was revealed a year later that they control the thermostats, right?
Exactly.
Now they've taken over vibrators. This is not going to work. I mean, having vibrators controlled by the city council, I mean, this is a bridge too far. It
reminds me of a Matrix scene. Remember that scene in the Matrix?
No, I don't.
Remember the guy with the woman? Because he can control neurons?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, look, if you came home and your temperature was 80 degrees, which they're now mandating in Colorado, I think you're referring to that. It's 80 degrees. I would go berserk. I would lose my mind.
It's all this smart technology was always designed to be control oriented. And now we're starting to see little glimpses of it here, little glimpses of it here, little glimpses of it here.
Right.
Well, it's not a coincidence that Google bought Nest. But
correct.
Well, this heat wave here is going to go on for like 11 to 14 days. So we're going to see if what this grid is made out of in California by this heat wave, because it's going to be another week of 100.
Remember Spike Lee's movie? I mean, when things get hot in big cities, things get a little crazy.
Things get crazy really quickly. Yeah, things get really crazy. I think I'm still sticking with my prediction that there's going to be mass looting of the supermarkets, because they are not going to want to pay $11 for a loaf of bread.
Well, I don't even know, like Italy, other places, they're burning
the Italy ones. The Italy protest, Milan.
They're literally burning their fuel bill. They're saying, come take our house.
Yes, but here they do these flash mob things where they take down an entire 7-Eleven. Police don't show up for hours until the place is entirely gutted.
That's because crime's legal.
National Defense Authorization Act.
That's
Well,
then because he's a green card holder, maybe it gets a little more complicated.
Well, that's why I was worried about.
You're still under probable cause standing. You're still have rights to a hearing within a certain time.
The thing is, Barnes, if they declared Proud Boys a terrorist organization, this goes back to the Patriot Act.
That's right.
Where you can take a quote unquote founder, quote terrorist, and toss them in Gitmo. Right. And that's what I told Mark early on. I was like, I hope
that
it's
would be a crazy precedent. I mean, if they try to start doing it, was as soon as Obama crossed that red line by droning American citizens just because they were located outside the country. It's like we're starting to go down perilous political paths.
Well, I suggest that because
agree.
Obama was perceived to be Gil Scott Heron and totally cool, everything he touched became totally cool. CIA became totally cool. Gay marriage became totally cool. FBI became totally cool because he played full court basketball at the FBI basketball courts every day at noon. Everything he touched by association became, Ornette Coleman. You know what I mean?
They spent a long time developing Barack.
That's right. And we covered that in one of our episodes.
Family of CIA.
The family of the CIA, if people want to get into that. And
they taught him in some interesting places. Places like Indonesia. It's not a coincidence.
No. Indonesia is not a coincidence. And the connection to Hawaii, which we've briefly discussed.
What was brilliant was their injection into the political right to make all those weird, suspicious things be about Islam rather than be about something else.
Right.
It's like, maybe he's a secret Islamist. Maybe he's a secret communist. No, he's a secret spook. That's the real story.
Well, I don't know if spook's the right word, but a spy.
Oh, I mean it in the CIA form. I'm gonna have to scrap the world.
All right, folks, last call. It's time anyways.
The situation is out of control here at the
it is. So, you know what? Everybody can feel better. Help Oswald find his way into the wild. You got to
go dog rehab out of this thing, bro. You got to break the cycle of addiction here, Eric.
And if you want to, you can always get a pedestrian teddy bear.
Right.
That's the Groubert.
Nowhere Groubert. That makes sense.
Nowhere as cool as an Oswald.
Right.
There's always shirts that you can get. Barnes is modeling a fine shirt right there.
Thank you, Robert.
And we have polos. We have everything else. There's a merch link either in the description or there's a merch shelf down below.
Mm-hmm.
Locals is a really good place to find us.
Just to plug some books that I recently bought with the book fund, the Matthias Desmet book, The Psychology of Totalitarianism. This is the guy talking about mass group formation, Robert. I highly recommend these books, but I need the PayPal funding to do it. So, and which has been coming in because I've been buying books like a psycho lately. I got to go. What is I didn't see it. Okay, marvelous.
It's funny. It's everybody's has those books.
Well, I'm giving them away at this point. I'm literally giving them away. But that comes through PayPal and Venmo, so I really appreciate it when they make that contribution. Yeah, I mean, look, there is information out there in print that is trustworthy, and there's information out there in print that is not trustworthy. You really got to pick your spots. I mean, it is the oldest place for the intelligence services to do their abuse is in print. And even though with the advent of cable and YouTube, they still love to do print because print can be controlled and massaged and published and everything else. And to find a good book, this guy was on Tucker this week on Fox Nation, halfway through talking about, which Robert Malone talked about, right? The mass group formation thing. I am astounded by this because I thought the whole thing was just Marxism, and it's not. Apparently, there's hypnosis involved, and there's
this goes back to Lifton and thought reform, and that's
I'm going to have to reevaluate this entire thing, going back to Hannah Arendt and this guy who I think is from Belgium, the guy who wrote this book.
Yeah, I've talked to him.
Oh, you have?
To get him.
I guess you did interview him.
No. He hasn't come on. He agreed. We just didn't get the schedule right. But
okay. The earlier super chat, there's a good Black Mirror episode, but there's also in the more recent quick X-Files.
Jones did an interview with him today. It was Alec Jones. Really?
Must be.
Probably.
Oh wow. Okay, now things are really progressing. Great.
But if you want to see technology run amok, there was a good X-Files episode in the recent season that the short season they did where he gives
Mirror or X-Files.
X-Files. There's a Black Mirror one that's good, but the X-Files one is even better.
Okay.
He gives a bad review at a sushi place that's all automated, and so all the automation starts raging war on him. The electric cab.
Fun. Woody Allen, when he was a stand-up, did a thing where all his appliances in an apartment in Brooklyn were not working, and he called them all in for a meeting in the living room, and they turned on him. All the toaster, everything. He called them out, and then he opened the window, and the steam came from the radiator, causing rain while he was making love to a girl. So it's been covered going back to Woody Allen's time, but
nice. All right. Well, on that happy note, everybody's gonna get mad. last call, shutting it down. I'll be on Locals tomorrow. I have a grill stream.
Oh, and we got the Secret Service on Tuesday, part 2, where we're going to get into the actual Kennedy assassination from the Secret Service point of view and how they peeled back security and how they pulled this off. So part 1 was the original history of the Secret Service, but part 2, we're going to get into the weeds and name names of Emory Roberts and Will Greer and Roy Kellerman and some of the people who were involved in this. So we're gonna out these guys on Tuesday.
And Barnes, do you have a movie you're reviewing tonight, or what?
We're gonna do Taylor of Panama. You know, similar to Graham Greene's Our Man in Havana. Before that, but was gonna do LA Confidential, but like it's hard to get LA Confidential currently. It's no longer on Amazon. What? You have to get it through Apple TV, or you have to subscribe to Stars.
See, that's why I always get hard copy director's cuts. I brought it with me to Dallas, and we were watching it with some friends in Dallas when I was down there. Always get hard copy, bro. You got to get director's cuts because they will have the voiceover of the director explaining things. I mean, LA Confidential, one of the best box sets you could buy because it'll get into some of the set design and costume design, which is fantastic also.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right. Well, see everybody either tomorrow on Locals or Tuesday for Secret Service Part 2.